Hey guys, welcome back to another video by Stoby. Today's video is going to be about enchanting. So as you're enchanting, you may have come across a problem where you try and add a book to an enchanted book to a tool or two tools together, and it will say too expensive. Now this is extremely annoying because it means you can't make your really super powerful gear like this. But today I'm going to show you how to do each one of these so you can do it every time. Even the boots. Now, quick maths before we start. The total minimum levels to enchant all of this gear here is 420 levels. So, yeah, it's quite expensive to do stuff like this. But I would say it's worth it. Now, realistically, it's more likely to be over 600 levels. And that's because you actually start these with a base enchantment. For example, if we start with a helmet here, put it into the enchantment table, and we do this, we start with Unbreaking 3 and Blast Protection 4. Now, Blast Protection 4 isn't very helpful, so we'd grindstone this, get some XP back, and try again, until we got something that looked a little bit like this. You might want to get more than this. I would recommend 3 enchantments for the helmet and the boots, and then you need 2 for the rest of the tools. Or 3 for the pickaxes if you want them to be really cheap like this. The elytra you actually can't enchant, which is why we're going to be needing some villagers. So we can get something like this, Silk Touch, we can get Unbreaking, Efficiency 5 for example, and then buy them like this. We can make these cheaper if we cure the villagers. So if we turn them into a zombie villager using a zombie, a note for this is that you need to be on hard mode. Otherwise, the villager has a chance to just die and not be converted properly. Now, using these books that we might have got, we can create this gear. Now, the hardest one to do here is the boots. I'm going to use these as my example. So, we want to use netherite boots, and this is because netherite has a really good enchanting luck. And this means that when we put it in the enchanting table with our lapis, we'll get we're more likely to get a good enchantment. Now, if we look at this, this says protection 3, which, honestly, we want protection 4, so that's bad. So we'll take this one down here that only takes 1 level and 1 lapis, and then we can go over to the grindstone, turn it back to non-enchanted, and go again. Now, this is Unbreaking 3 and Protection 4, and unfortunately for the boots, this is still not enough. It will still say too expensive, no matter how hard we try. So we're going to keep putting the boots through the enchanter until we get something good. Hopefully I'll get it fast. If not, we can do a smidgen of a cut. So here we go. We've actually managed to get it rather quickly. Unbreaking 3, Protection 4, and Depth Strider 3. Now, what we want to do with that is now want to add all the other books. So you can see the other books remaining are Thorns 3, Feather Falling 4, Soul Speed 3, and Mending. And those can be found in creative mode just here. So we want Thorns, Soul Speed 3, Feather Falling 4, and Mending. So the order that we want is we want Thorns and Feather Falling together, and then Soul Speed and Mending together. So, a bit like this. Now, when we combine these in the anvil, we want to do this in a very specific way. We want Thorns and Feather Falling together. And you see, this is actually 12, but now it's 4. So we want to do it Thorns first, then Feather Falling. Then we want to do Soul Speed and Mending, and that will only cost 2 levels. And if we add these two together, it will either be 16 or 18. So we'll take the 16. And now finally, we want to add these to our boots. And it will cost 33 levels. Now this is obviously very expensive, but we are making the theoretically best gear in the game. And that is how you create the netherite boots with the best possible. If we were to do it so that we just added the books one at a time, it would become a lot more expensive, which is why we combine the books first. The helmet, again, we probably want to get protection, unbreaking, and maybe aqua, affinity, or respiration first via enchanting, and then add the books. And you can see that that still comes out to about 35 levels, because respiration is a very high level enchantment compared to something like soul speed on the boots. Now the plus is how much it costs to then name the thing. So the more things that you have on a weapon, for example, this sword has a lot of different enchantments on it, and that means it costs a very large amount to rename. So that costs 16 to rename, whereas something like a pickaxe is only 4. A few things I'll say. The bow, you don't have to do mending like this. If you can get infinity, which means that you don't need arrows, but of course the bow will eventually just break. Which is why I've gone for mending on this particular bow. I think that makes it slightly more expensive, and with villagers, infinity is easier to get than mending, in my experience. Now, just to put into perspective what this 609 levels is, I did a little bit of experimentation, and I found that if you sit in a little box and splash XP potions, these, what are they? These XP bottles here, like this. Those levels, if you do this for 5 inventories worth of XP bottles, so 5 times 36 times 64 XP bottles, you get 151 levels. And remembering we need 600 levels. So the best way to do this would be to go up to however much you need, so 43 levels, run it down to 0, and then add the XP up again. Because for each level you go up, it takes more and more XP. So you'd want to get 43 and then run it down for the helmet, and then go up to 24 and run it down, up to 24, run it down. Now this 24 is slightly inaccurate, because to do the first enchantment to get protection 4 and breaking 3, or protection 4 and breaking 3 and thorns, depending on how lucky you are, it's not too important with these ones because they're quite cheap. You do actually need to start with 30 levels just to use the enchantment table, which is why if you're going for gear like this, you are going to be wanting an XP farm. From having villagers, you may have a lot of XP because they do drop XP every time you trade with them, as you can see, like this. Yeah, it can get quite expensive. So AFK XP farms do in fact exist. So, for example, you can use a gold farm that has rings around where the mobs come and kills themselves, and you get XP, things like that. But that XP is a bit of a pain to get. I would say it's worth it because this gear is pretty amazing. This is the gear that we will strive for. But here, this axe is slightly different because I put sharpness 5 on it. All of these enchantments that I've used here you can get with villagers, but things like protection 4 I always enchant for before we start putting books on, so you might not need protection 4. Anyway, I've talked for too long. Thank you guys for watching. If you love this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of our next video. Adios.